The warning lights turned red across the control panel. Dae-sung gripped the steering controls as his ship shook violently. Something had gone wrong in the empty space between star systems. One moment he was flying normally through the dark. The next moment everything was failing at once. Come on, he whispered to his ship. The engine made a terrible grinding sound. Smoke filled the small cabin. He could barely see the controls anymore. His ship was called the Morning Star. It was small, built for one person, designed for exploring far places where no human had gone before. Dae-sung had flown alone for 3 months on this mission. He was used to the silence, used to being the only human voice for millions of miles. But he was not used to this. His ship was dying. The computer screen flickered. Numbers scrolled past too fast to read. His oxygen system beeped a warning. The temperature dropped. Ice formed on the inside of the window. Dae-sung pulled his jacket tighter and tried to restart the main engine. Nothing happened. He tried again. Still nothing. Through the ice on the window, he saw a planet. It was blue and green, covered in water and land. It looked beautiful. It also looked like where he was going to crash. Emergency landing, he said to himself. His voice sounded strange in the cold cabin. I can do this. I've trained for this. But training was different from real life. In training, the instructor stopped the simulation before anyone got hurt. Here, there was no one to stop anything. There was only him, his dying ship, and the planet growing larger in the window. The ship entered the atmosphere. Fire surrounded the window. The heat came back quickly, too quickly. Dae-sung sweated inside his jacket. The ship bounced and spun. He couldn't control it anymore. He could only hold on and hope. Trees appeared below, a forest of some kind, but the trees were strange colors, purple and silver instead of green. Then he saw water, a huge river, wider than any river on Earth, shining like it had light inside it. The water looked strange, almost magical. The ship clipped the top of the trees. Branches scraped against the hull. The sound was deafening. Dae-sung closed his eyes and covered his head with his arms. The ship hit the ground. It bounced once, twice, then slid across something smooth. The noise was incredible. Metal screamed. Things broke and shattered. Then everything stopped. Dae-sung opened his eyes. He was alive. His chest hurt from the safety straps. His head was bleeding a little. But he was alive. Smoke filled the cabin. He needed to get out before something exploded. He released the safety straps and fell forward. His hands found the emergency release. The door blew off with a bang. Fresh air rushed in. It smelled sweet and strange, like flowers mixed with metal. Dae-sung crawled out of the ship and fell onto the ground. The ground was not dirt. It was smooth and crystalline like glass, but warmer. He lay there for a moment, breathing hard, feeling his body. His left arm hurt. His ribs hurt. But nothing seemed broken. He was lucky. Very lucky. Behind him, the Morning Star was completely destroyed. The front was crushed. The wings were torn off. Black smoke poured from the engine. Small fires burned in several places. There would be no repairing this ship. He was stranded. Dae-sung stood up slowly. His legs shook. He looked around. The forest was behind him, the strange purple and silver trees swaying in the wind. In front of him was the river. It was even more beautiful up close. The water shimmered with light that seemed to come from inside it. The light moved and flowed like the water itself was alive. He stumbled toward the river. His training said to find water first. Water meant survival. He fell to his knees at the edge and cupped his hands. The water was cool and clear. He splashed it on his face, washing away the blood. It stung but also felt good, almost soothing. That was when the water started to move strangely. At first, Dae-sung thought it was just the current. But this was different. The water rose in places where it should not rise. Ripples formed patterns that made no sense. He stopped moving and watched. Something big was under the water. No, many big things. They were coming toward him. Dae-sung backed away from the edge. His hand went to his belt where his emergency weapon should be. It was gone. Lost in the crash.
He had nothing to defend himself with.
He kept backing up until his back hit the wreckage of his ship. The water exploded upward. Dae-sung shouted in surprise and fear. A massive shape rose from the river. Water poured off scales that caught the light and threw it in every direction. Colors that Dae-sung had no names for flashed across the creature's body. It was a dragon. An actual dragon like from old Earth stories. But this was real. Its body was as long as his ship had been. Its head was enormous, with eyes that glowed with their own light. More dragons rose behind it. 5, 6, 7 of them, all huge, all staring at him. Daesung could not move, could not speak, could barely breathe. He had seen strange alien life before in his travels. Strange fish on water worlds, flying creatures on planets with thick air, but nothing like this. These creatures looked ancient and powerful and intelligent. The largest dragon lowered its head. It studied Daesung with eyes that seemed to look through him. Those eyes were old, older than anything Daesung had ever seen, older than mountains. The dragon opened its mouth. Daesung tensed, expecting fire or teeth. Instead, words appeared in his mind. Not sounds, not language he could hear, but thoughts that formed themselves into meaning inside his head. Another skyfaller, the third in 10,000 cycles. Daesung's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The dragon could speak, could put thoughts in his head. His training had never covered this. First contact protocols seemed useless now. The dragon tilted its massive head. You are damaged, broken, like your falling sky shell. Daesung finally found his voice. I crashed. My ship broke. I didn't mean to come here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for disturbing you. The other dragons moved closer. They surrounded him but did not threaten. They simply watched, studied. One of them, smaller than the others with scales of deep blue, swam in a circle. Another, with silver scales, dipped its head into the water and then back up. You speak, the large dragon said in his mind. The others did not speak. They could not speak, or would not speak. You are different. Others? Daesung asked. His head was spinning. There were others who crashed here? Long ago, very long ago. You are only the third to fall from the sky in all our memory, and our memory is long. The dragon's eyes seemed to soften, if that was possible for such a creature. You are hurt. You are alone. You are far from your water home. What will you do, Skyfaller? Daesung looked at his destroyed ship. He looked at the strange forest. He looked at the shimmering river full of dragons. Then he looked back at the creature that could speak into his mind. I will survive, he said. That's what humans do. We survive. The dragon made a sound that might have been a laugh. It rumbled through the air and through the water. Survive. Yes, we shall see if you can, little Skyfaller. We shall see. The dragons did not leave. They stayed in the water, watching Daesung as he tried to salvage what he could from his broken ship. Their glowing eyes followed his every movement. It should have been frightening, but somehow it was not. They seemed curious more than dangerous. Daesung worked through the pain in his ribs. He pulled out his emergency pack, a water filter, some food rations, and a small medical kit. The communications equipment was destroyed. The navigation system was melted. Most of his tools were scattered or broken, but he found a few useful things. A knife, a fire starter, a small device that could analyze air and water. His translator implant was still working. He could feel it humming behind his ear, though it seemed confused by the dragons. The largest dragon, the one who had spoken first, moved closer to the shore. Its scales reflected the strange sunlight of this world. Daesung noticed details he had missed before. The scales were not just one color. They shifted and changed like oil on water, beautiful and impossible. You search the broken sky shell. The voice came into his head again. You look for something. What do you seek? Daesung sat back on his heels. I'm looking for anything that might help me survive, food, tools, a way to call for help. Help from the sky? Yes, from my people, other humans. They will look for me when I don't report in, but I don't know how long that will take, weeks, maybe months. The dragon was quiet for a moment. Then it said, You are called what? Daesung. My name is Daesung. Daesung, the dragon repeated in his mind. The name sounded strange coming from the creature's thoughts. I am called Myunghwa. I am keeper of waters. I remember the long memory of my people. Other dragons came closer. The blue one spoke next, its voice lighter in his mind. I am Jinho. I am called Stormcaller. A green dragon with patterns like waves added Heejin Tideredder. One by one they gave their names. Daesung tried to remember them all. It felt important to remember. These creatures were intelligent. They were people in their own way. Not animals. Not monsters, people. Your words come to us strangely, Myunghwa said. They pass through something in your head. Daesung touched behind his ear where his translator implant was. It's a device. A machine. It helps me understand different languages. Machine. Myunghwa seemed to taste the word. We know machines. We had machines long ago, before the long memory. We chose differently. You had technology? Daesung stood up, interested. You had machines and gave them up? The machines made us forget the water, forget the flow, forget the balance. We nearly died from our machines. So we let them go. Now we live in the water and remember everything. Daesung wanted to ask more, but a wave of dizziness hit him. He stumbled and caught himself on a piece of wreckage. His head hurt. His vision blurred. You are damaged inside, Myunghwa said. The crash broke things we cannot see. I'll be okay, Daesung said, but his voice sounded weak. I just need rest. The water will help. Our water heals. It is old and knows many things. Daesung looked at the shimmering river. I can't breathe underwater. You do not need to breathe it. Touch it, drink it. Let it know you. He did not understand, but he was too tired to argue. He walked to the edge and knelt. The water felt different this time, warmer, almost welcoming. He cupped some in his hands and drank. It tasted clean and pure. Something in it made his tongue tingle. The pain in his head began to ease, not disappear but soften. He could think more clearly. He drank more. The ache in his ribs became less sharp. Your water is medicine, he said with wonder. Water is life. Water is memory. Water is healing. You will learn this. Over the next several days, Daesung learned many things. The dragons watched him build a shelter from parts of his ship and branches from the strange trees. They watched him set up a small camp. They watched him test the local plants carefully to see which ones might be safe to eat. Sometimes they talked to him. Sometimes they just watched. Daesung found that he did not mind the watching. It felt less like being studied and more like being kept company. Jinho was the most curious. The blue dragon asked questions constantly. What was the sky like where Daesung came from? How many humans were there? Did they all fly in sky shells? Why did they want to explore? Daesung answered as best he could. He told them about Earth, about the billions of people, about cities and oceans and mountains, about humanity's drive to explore and discover and learn. Your people sound restless, Heejin said. Always moving, always seeking. Do you never stay still? Some of us do, Daesung said. But many of us feel pulled to see what's beyond the next horizon. It's in our nature. A strange nature, Myunghwa said, but not wrong. Simply different from ours. One evening, as Daesung cooked a meal from his rations, Myunghwa did something unexpected. The great dragon moved to the water's edge and touched its head to the surface. The water began to glow brighter. Images formed in the ripples. Daesung gasped. He saw a creature made of crystal like living glass. It stood by this same river. The image flickered and changed. The crystal creature was lying down. Then it was breaking apart, dissolving. The first skyfaller, Myunghwa said. 7,000 cycles ago. It could not live in our air. It tried to breathe and could not. We did not know how to help. It faded like ice in the sun. The image changed again. Now Daesung saw something that looked like a giant insect. 6 legs, multiple eyes. Armor like shell. It was fighting something, thrashing, then lying still. The second skyfaller. 3,000 cycles ago. It was damaged inside by tiny life. Infection, you would say. It refused to drink our water. It did not trust. It died alone. The images faded. Myunghwa pulled its head from the water. You are the third. You drink the water. You speak to us. You build but do not destroy. You are different from the others. Daesung felt the weight of that history. 2 other beings had crashed here. Both had died. He was lucky to be alive. Lucky that he had been willing to trust. Will you help me? He asked quietly. Can you help me survive until my people come? The dragons were silent for a long moment. Then Jinho spoke up. I say we should help. This human shows respect, shows wisdom. The others did not. We do not interfere, another dragon said. We watch. We remember. We do not change the flow. But we can guide, Heejin added. We can teach. That is not interference. Myunghwa's great head swung toward Daesung. There will be a gathering. A council. All the dragons of this region will come. They will decide. Can you survive for 40 days? 40 turnings of the moon? Daesung thought about his supplies. Thought about what he had learned so far. 40 days was a long time. But he had water. He had some food. He had shelter. He had his skills. Yes, he said firmly. I can survive 40 days. Then survive, Daesung the Skyfaller. Show us what humans can do. Show us you are worth the breaking of our old ways. That night, Daesung lay in his makeshift shelter and looked up at the alien stars. The dragons had not promised to help, but they had not refused either. They were testing him, challenging him. He had 40 days to prove himself. He had survived worse odds before. At least he told himself that. But he had never been so alone, never been so far from home, never had so much depending on him. The river shimmered in the darkness. Somewhere in its depths the dragons rested. Daesung closed his eyes and let the sound of the water lull him to sleep. Tomorrow would be day 1 of 40. He would make it count. The first week was the hardest. Daesung's body ached from the crash. His supplies were limited. The alien world was beautiful but also strange and sometimes dangerous. He had to learn everything from scratch. The food from his ship would not last 40 days. He needed to find food on this planet. He started carefully. His analyzer device could test plants for toxins, but it was not perfect. Some alien compounds did not register. He tried small tastes of fruits and leaves, waiting to see if he got sick. Some made him ill. Others were safe. He marked the safe ones with pieces of fabric torn from his jacket. The dragons watched. They did not help. They had said they would not interfere, and they kept their word. But Daesung noticed small things. When he walked too close to a plant with thorns that oozed poison, Hyejin would splash water in that direction. When he started to drink from a stagnant pool, Jinho would call out a warning in his mind. They were not interfering. They were just watching very carefully. On the 8th day, Daesung got sick anyway. Something he had eaten did not agree with him. Or maybe it was the alien microorganisms in the air and water. His body began to fight things it had never encountered before. Fever burned through him. He shivered and sweated at the same time. He tried to use his medical kit. The fever reducers helped a little. The antibiotics did nothing. This was alien biology. Earth medicine was not made for this. Daesung lay in his shelter and felt his strength drain away. Through the haze of fever, he saw Myung-Hwa's great head appear near his shelter. You are failing, Skyfaller. I know, Daesung whispered. I'm trying. The others failed this way. Their bodies could not adapt. Your medicines are not enough. Daesung closed his eyes. Was this how it ended? Not in the crash, but from invisible enemies his body could not fight. It seemed cruel. He had survived so much only to die from being sick. But he was not dead yet. He was a scientist. He was trained to solve problems. He forced himself to sit up despite the dizziness. His hands shook as he grabbed his analyzer. The river water had helped before. Maybe it could help again. He stumbled to the river's edge. The dragons parted to let him through. He took a sample of the water and put it in the analyzer. The small screen filled with data, complex compounds, minerals he did not recognize, and something else, something organic, microorganisms that lived in the water. These microorganisms were producing chemicals, natural antibiotics, not like Earth antibiotics, but similar in function. They fought other microorganisms. That was why the water helped heal. That was why it felt soothing. Daesung's mind raced despite the fever. If he could concentrate these compounds, if he could filter and purify them, if he could make a stronger medicine from the water itself. He worked through the day and into the night. His fever made it hard to think, but he pushed through. He used parts from his ship to build a simple filtration system. He boiled water over a fire to sterilize it. He ran it through filters made from his clothes and sand from the riverbank. He collected the residue and mixed it with more water. The dragons watched in silence. Even Myung-Hwa seemed interested. Finally, Daesung had a small container of concentrated medicine. It looked cloudy and smelled strange. He had no idea if it would work. It might do nothing. It might make him worse. But doing nothing meant certain death. He drank it all. The taste was horrible. He gagged but kept it down. Then he collapsed in his shelter and waited. He woke the next morning. The fever was gone. His head was clear. His body was weak but recovering. He had done it. He had used the planet's own resources to save himself. Jinho was the first to speak. You did not wait for death. You did not wait for us. You found your own way. I had to try, Daesung said. His voice was rough but stronger. That's what humans do. We try. Myunghwa's voice was approving. The second Skyfaller refused our water. Refused to trust this world. You did the opposite. You embraced it, used it, became part of it. After that, things got easier. Daesung grew stronger. He learned which plants were safe and which were not. He found fruit that tasted sweet and roots that filled his stomach. He built better shelter using techniques he observed from watching how the local creatures built their nests. Heejin started visiting him more often. She was younger than the other dragons, curious about everything. She asked about human families, about human homes, about the ocean on Earth. Our ocean is not like your river, Daesung explained. It's salty, huge. It covers most of the planet. I would like to see this ocean, Heejin said wistfully. I would like to swim in water that has no end. Maybe someday you will, Daesung said. She told him about the dragon's past. Long ago, before anyone could remember exactly when, the dragons had built cities. They had made machines. They had tried to control everything. We made the water sick, Heejin said. We made the air sick. We took too much and gave too little. Many dragons died. The world itself was dying. What changed? Daesung asked. We stopped. We let go of the machines. We returned to the water. We learned to live with the world instead of against it. It took many generations, many sacrifices, but we survived. Daesung thought about Earth, about humanity's own struggles with the environment, about pollution and climate change and species dying. The dragons had faced the same problems. They had found a solution, even if it meant giving up technology. We're still learning that lesson, he admitted. Humans are still trying to find balance. Perhaps that is why you wander the stars, Heejin said, looking for answers. Maybe. On the 20th day, something attacked his camp. Daesung heard the sound first, a low growl that made the ground vibrate. He grabbed his knife, the only weapon he had, and stepped outside. The creature was massive, 6 legs, each one as thick as a tree trunk. Its body was covered in bony plates. Its mouth had too many teeth. The dragons had a name for it that translated in his mind as Riftclaw, an apex predator. The Riftclaw stared at Daesung with yellow eyes. It was hungry. He was food. The dragons did not move from the water. This was nature. This was the flow. They would not interfere. Daesung's mind raced. He could not fight this thing. He could not outrun it. He needed to think. He needed to be smart. He remembered his training. Predators usually took the easy meal. If he made himself difficult, maybe it would leave. He needed defenses. He needed obstacles. He started backing toward his shelter, keeping his eyes on the Riftclaw. It followed slowly, confidently. It knew he could not escape. Daesung reached his shelter and grabbed cables from his ship. He strung them between trees quickly, making tripwires. He activated his fire starter and threw it at a pile of the purple leaves. They caught fire immediately, burning bright and hot. The Riftclaw stopped. It did not like the fire. It circled, looking for another way. Daesung used the time to set up more obstacles. Sharp pieces of metal from his ship, angled up from the ground. More tripwires. He made noise banging on metal, trying to seem bigger and more dangerous than he was. The Riftclaw charged. It was fast despite its size. But it hit the first tripwire and stumbled, fell into the sharp metal, roared in pain and anger. It tried again, more carefully this time. But everywhere it stepped, there was another obstacle, another trap. Finally, it gave up. The meal was not worth the effort. It turned and crashed back into the forest. Daesung collapsed, shaking. He had done it. He had survived through cleverness instead of strength. Jinho exploded from the water with joy. Did you see? Did you all see? He did not run. He did not hide. He used his mind. Even Myunghwa seemed impressed. No claws, no teeth, no size, but still alive. This is interesting. That night the dragons gathered in the water and talked among themselves. Daesung could not hear their conversation, but he could feel it. The water rippled with their thoughts. Something had changed. He had proven something important. He had 20 days left, but somehow he felt like he had already passed the test. On the 40th day, the dragons came. Not just the ones Daesung knew. All of them. From up the river and down the river, from the tributaries and the deep pools. They came by the hundreds. The water became a sea of scales and light. Every color Daesung could imagine and many he could not. Young dragons and ancient ones. Small ones no bigger than his arm and massive ones that made Myunghwa look small. They filled the river from bank to bank. Daesung stood on the crystalline shore and felt very small. Very alone, very human. A dragon he did not know spoke in his mind. The voice was old, older than Myunghwa's. You are the human. The Skyfaller. The one who survived. Yes, Daesung said. His voice sounded tiny against the sound of so much water moving. Come forward. Walk into the shallows. Let us all see you. Daesung walked into the water. It came up to his knees, then his waist. He stopped where Myunghwa had told him to stop. The dragons formed a circle around him. Hundreds of glowing eyes watched. The old dragon spoke again. I am Taemin. I am Stormkeeper. I hold the memories of the great storms and the great calms. I speak for those who believe we must never interfere with the flow of nature. Daesung nodded. He understood. This was the trial. This was the judgment. For 40 days we have watched you, Taemin continued. We have seen you struggle. We have seen you adapt. We have seen you survive. Now we must decide. Do we help you return to your sky home? Or do we let nature take its course? Myunghwa moved forward. I speak for the human. I have watched him most closely. He shows respect, he learns. He does not take more than he needs. He has made himself part of this place, not an invader of it. Jinho's voice was passionate. He faced the rift claw with nothing but his mind. He made medicine from our water. He speaks to us like equals. The other Skyfallers did not do these things. The other Skyfallers died, another dragon said coldly. Perhaps that was the natural way. Perhaps this one should die too. He will not die, Hyejin said firmly. His people will come. They seek him. We have heard the sounds from the sky. His sky shell calls to them even broken. Daesung's heart jumped. You can hear my distress beacon? Myunghwa's eyes met his. We have heard it since the beginning. We know your people come. They will arrive in 30 days, perhaps less. Then you knew, Daesung said slowly. You knew I would be rescued. This whole time you knew. Yes, Taemin said. The test was never about whether you would be saved. The test was about who you would become while you waited. Would you stay humble? Would you learn? Or would you become arrogant, demanding like you were owed our help? Daesung felt anger flash through him. They had let him suffer. Let him nearly die. Let him face the rift claw alone, all while knowing he would be rescued anyway. But then he thought about it more carefully. If he had known rescue was coming, would he have tried as hard? Would he have learned as much? Would he have really understood this place and these people? You wanted to see if I would remain teachable, he said. Yes, Myunghwa said. Power without wisdom is dangerous. Technology without respect is destructive. We needed to know if you and your people could learn these things. Before Daesung could respond, Hyejin's head snapped up. Something comes. From the sky, not the humans' people, something else. The dragons grew agitated. The water churned. Daesung looked up. In the alien sky, he saw a light. It grew brighter, larger. A ship was approaching, but it was not a human ship. The shape was wrong. The energy signature, even to his untrained eyes, was wrong. What is it? He asked. Myunghwa's voice was grim. We know this feeling. This energy, it matches our ancient memories. The second Skyfaller, the insect beings, they have returned. Fear gripped Daesung's stomach. The ones who died 3,000 years ago. They're back? Not the same ones. But their people. Their kind. Taemin's voice was troubled. They must have recorded this place before their explorer died. Now they return. The ship was enormous. As it broke through the clouds, Daesung could see it clearly. It was organic and mechanical at once. Like a hive made of metal and chitin, it moved in a way that seemed wrong, like it was crawling through the air instead of flying. They will want to know what happened to their explorer, Jinho said. They will want this world, another dragon added. They will see the minerals, the water, the resources. They will want to take. The ship landed on the other side of the river. It was far away but still visible, massive, intimidating. Hatches opened. Things emerged. They looked like the insect creature Daesung had seen in Myunghwa's vision. Six-legged, armored, moving with purpose. What do we do? Daesung asked. We watch, Taemin said. We do not interfere. They might attack, Daesung said. They might try to take over. Then that is the flow of nature. No, Jin Ho said loudly. That is not nature. That is invasion. That is conquest. We cannot just watch. We must, Taemin insisted. It is our way. Daesung saw the dragons beginning to argue among themselves. The water rippled with their conflict. They were divided. Some wanted to act, others wanted to maintain their philosophy of non-interference. A new voice entered his mind. Multiple voices at once speaking as one. We are Vreth. We claim this world by right of discovery. We claim salvage rights to the fallen machine. We claim survey rights to this territory. The insect beings had communicated with him, or at the dragons, or both. Daesung stepped forward in the water. This world is already claimed. These dragons are its people. This is their home. Dragons? The Vreth voice seemed confused. We detect large aquatic fauna. This does not constitute sentient civilization. They are sentient, Daesung said. They are intelligent. They communicate. They have culture and history and philosophy. They have no technology, no structures, no machines. By Vreth law, this does not qualify as civilization. Daesung felt anger rise again. That's absurd. They're more civilized than most species I've met. You are human, the Vreth said. Your species is barely space-capable. You have no authority here. The argument was going nowhere. The Vreth had their laws, their definitions. They were not going to listen to him. Then Myunghwa spoke, this time loud enough that everyone could hear, human and Vreth alike. We are the Yulsun. We are the eternal observers. We have lived in these waters for longer than your entire species has existed. We have watched empires rise and fall. We have seen 3 skyfallers crash on our shores, and we remember everything. The Vreth went silent. You sent an explorer 3,000 cycles ago, Myunghwa continued. It refused our offer of help. It died from its arrogance. We could have saved it. We chose not to, just as we can stop you now if we choose. Impossible, the Vreth said. You have no weapons, no defenses. We have the water, Myunghwa said simply, and then the dragons showed what they could do. The river rose, not in waves, not in floods. It rose in pillars and towers and spirals. The water moved like it was alive because in a way it was. The dragons were part of the water and the water was part of them. They shaped it, controlled it, made it into anything they wanted. A waterspout formed touching the sky, then another, then a dozen. They danced around the Vreth ship like living things, beautiful and terrifying at once. Daesung stared in awe. The dragons had not been helpless. They had never been helpless. They had simply chosen peace over power. We do not make war, Myunghwa said. We do not conquer, but we defend. This is our home. You will respect it or you will leave. The Vreth ship did not move. Daesung could imagine them inside, recalculating everything they thought they knew. Finally, the Vreth spoke again. Their voice was different now, less certain. This requires negotiation. We did not understand the situation. No, Myunghwa agreed. You did not, and now you must learn. The Vreth ship remained where it landed. The waterspout slowly lowered back into the river. The dragons held their position, hundreds of them creating a living wall between the Vreth and the rest of their world. Daesung stood in the shallow water and tried to think. 2 alien species were about to clash. He was just one human. What could he possibly do to help? They will not listen to us, Taemin said. They see only what they want to see. Technology, power, resources. Then we must show them something they cannot ignore, Daesung said. We already showed them our power, Jinho said. They still threaten? No, Daesung said slowly. An idea was forming. You showed them strength. That's different from civilization. They need to understand who you are, what you are, and I think I know how. He turned to Myunghwa. Can you share memories with me again? Like you did with the other Skyfallers? Yes, but the Vreth will not see. They will if I show them. Daesung touched the translator implant behind his ear. It was more than just a language device. It could record, store, transmit. Let me see your history. Let me see everything. Then I'll translate it in a way they can understand. Myunghwa lowered its great head. This is a great trust, Skyfaller. I know. But you trusted me to survive. Trust me to speak for you now. The dragon's head touched the water. The water began to glow. Daesung knelt and put his hands in. Images flooded his mind. Not just pictures, feelings, understanding, memory. He saw the dragons millions of years ago, saw their cities of coral and crystal, saw their machines that worked with water instead of electricity, saw them spread across the entire planet, saw them grow proud and careless. Then he saw the dying, the waters turning black, the air becoming poison, the young dragons born twisted and weak, the pain of watching their world die because of what they had done. He saw the choice they made. The hard choice. To give up everything they had built. To return to the water. To live simply. To remember always what they had almost lost. He saw thousands of years of patience, of watching, of learning to live in balance, of becoming something new, something wiser. When the vision ended, Daesung was crying. He did not realize it until he tasted salt. The dragon's story was beautiful and tragic and hopeful all at once. "I understand," he whispered. "I understand now." He stood and activated his implant's transmission mode. He sent a signal to the Vreth ship. "I am Daesung, human explorer. I request communication," the Vreth responded. "Speak, human. You think the dragons are not civilized because they have no technology. But they did have technology, advanced technology. They chose to let it go." He transmitted the memories. His implant converted them into data the Vreth could process, shared the images, the feelings, the understanding. "They nearly destroyed themselves," Daesung continued, "like many species do. But instead of continuing on that path, they stopped. They changed. They sacrificed comfort and power for survival and wisdom." Silence from the Vreth. He knew they were processing, analyzing, trying to understand. "That takes more strength than building machines," Daesung said. "It takes more intelligence to know when to stop than to know how to start." The dragons are not primitive. They are not simple fauna. They are what comes after civilization. They are what happens when a species truly matures. More silence. Then a new sound. Ships approaching from above. Human ships. Daesung's heart leaped. His people, finally. 3 ships broke through the atmosphere. Military escorts surrounding a rescue vessel. They positioned themselves above the Vreth ship. A voice came through on open channels. "This is Captain Bora of the Terran ship Seeker of Dawn. We have located our lost pilot. State your intentions regarding this system." Bora. Daesung knew that name. She had trained him years ago. She had taught him how to survive in space. And now she was here. "Captain Bora," Daesung transmitted. "I am alive, I am safe. But we have a situation here," he explained quickly. "The dragons. The Vreth, the standoff." Bora listened without interrupting. "Hold position," she said finally. "I am coming down." A shuttle detached from the Seeker of Dawn. It landed near Daesung's camp. The hatch opened. Captain Bora stepped out. She was older than Daesung remembered. Gray in her hair now. More lines on her face. But her eyes were the same. Sharp, intelligent, missing nothing. "You look terrible," she said. "I survived," Daesung said. "So I see." She looked at the dragons. At the Vreth ship. At the destroyed Morning Star. "You have been busy. Captain, these dragons are—" "I know what they are," Bora said. "I watched your transmission, remarkable." She walked to the water's edge. The dragons watched her. She bowed. Actually bowed. "I am Bora, I come in peace. I apologize that our pilot disturbed your world." Myunghwa rose from the water. "You are the human leader?" "I am a leader." "Not the leader. Humans have many leaders. You have manners, respect. You are not like the insect beings." "The Vreth," Bora said, "are rigid in their thinking, but they can learn. If given the right motivation." She activated her own communicator. "Vreth ship, this is Captain Bora. I propose a meeting. Neutral ground. 3 representatives from each species. Including the dragons." The Vreth were quiet for a long moment. Then they agreed. They met on the crystalline shore as the sun set. 3 Vreth, all identical in their chitinous armor. 3 humans, Bora, Daesung, and a diplomat named Quan who had come with the rescue ship. And 3 dragons, Myunghwa, Jinho, and Heejin. The Vreth spoke first. "We came seeking answers about our lost explorer. We came claiming salvage rights. We did not expect sentient life." "Your laws are based on technology," Quan said. He was good at this, Daesung could see. Calm, diplomatic. "But technology is not the only measure of civilization." "We acknowledge this now," the Vreth said. The memories shared by the human Daesung have caused recalculation of our parameters. The dragons have much to teach, Bora said. They have lived for millions of years. They have memories of civilizations that rose and fell before our species even existed. That knowledge is valuable. We offer trade, Myunghwa said, not of resources, not of territory. We offer knowledge, understanding, wisdom learned through long experience, Jinho added. We will share our memories, our observations of the cosmos, of the species that came before, of the patterns we have seen. In exchange, Hijin said, you will respect our home. You will not mine. You will not build. You will not change. But you may visit. You may learn. You may grow. The Vreth conferred among themselves silently. Their antennae twitched. Finally they spoke. This is acceptable. We establish this world as neutral territory, a place of learning and exchange. Agreed, Bora said. The Vreth turned to Daesung. Your actions prevented conflict. You translated between species, between philosophies. This is valuable. You would be valued in Vreth space. Daesung smiled. Thank you, but I think I have a different job now. Bora raised an eyebrow. Oh? Someone needs to stay here, Daesung said. Someone who understands both humans and dragons. Someone who can help other species understand too. An ambassador, Quan said. Yes. Myunghwa's eyes glowed brighter. You would stay, even though you can now leave? I crashed here by accident, Daesung said. But I think maybe I was supposed to end up here. I think this is where I need to be. The dragons rippled with approval. Jinho splashed excitedly. Hijin made a sound like laughter. Over the next few days, they built a real settlement. Humans brought materials from the Seeker of Dawn. The Vreth contributed their architectural knowledge. The dragons shaped the land and water to accommodate everyone. It was not large, just a small station on the crystalline shore, a place where 3 species could meet and talk and learn, a place where the dragon's wisdom could be shared with the wider galaxy. Bora prepared to leave. You are sure about this? She asked Daesung privately. I am sure. You will be alone again, far from other humans. I will not be alone, Daesung said. He looked at the dragons swimming in their river, at the Vreth establishing their observation post, at the stars appearing in the twilight sky. I will have plenty of company. Bora hugged him. You did well, pilot. You did something important here. I just crashed my ship. No, she said. You built a bridge. Between worlds, between species. That is much more important than any ship. The human ships left. The Vreth ship stayed but did not expand. The dragons continued their eternal watch of the waters, and Daesung stood on the shore of the Shimmering River, watching the sunset paint the water in colors that had no names. His distress beacon finally powered down. It had done its job, but now he had a new job. A better one. Myunghwa's voice entered his mind. You skyfallers are always falling, but sometimes you learn to swim. Daesung smiled and replied aloud, and sometimes the water teaches us to fly. He walked into the river. The water was warm and welcoming. The dragons swam around him, their scales catching the last light of day. Above, the stars began to appear. One of them was Earth, too far away to see but still there. Still home. But this was home too now. This world of water and wisdom. This place where skyfallers learned to swim and dragons remembered everything. Daesung dove under the surface. The water filled his vision with light and color, and in that light he saw the future, more species coming, more learning, more understanding. A galaxy slowly coming together through patience and respect and the willingness to listen. He surfaced, laughing. Jinho splashed him playfully. Hijin told him a story about the stars, and Daesung knew with absolute certainty that he was exactly where he was meant to be. The lonely pilot had landed near a shimmering river. The water had moved and dragons had looked back. And in that moment of first contact, everything had changed. Not just for him, not just for the dragons, but for everyone who would come after. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, but the greatest wonder was this, that beings so different could find common ground, could build bridges, could learn from each other. And it all started with one crashed ship, one stubborn human, and a river full of ancient dragons who remembered everything and forgot nothing. The water shimmered in the growing dark, and in its depths new stories began.